Well, with Africa's population growing exponentially, there's need for the continent to ensure food security by raising its support for the agriculture sector. Now, CGTN Africa brings you a series of features on food production on the continent. Here's Lindy Mtongana with more.
We're coming to you from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology in Kenya. For the next 6 days, CGTN Africa brings you a 6-part series on food production in Africa. We'll explore the continent's support to farmers, innovation and technology, exports, food waste, water and bulk food production. In our first installment, we take a look at Africa's support to farmers. The United Nations estimates that the world's population will be roughly 10 billion by 2050, and more than half of that population growth is expected to occur in Africa. Now, meeting food requirements for this growing population means that world food production will need to rise by 70%, while in the developing world, production will need to double. Now, in response to this challenge, village-based advisors are helping farmers in Kenya improve productivity by providing advice on how to improve their yields. CGTN's Daniel Arabmoy reports.
Another night passed, and hopefully a more fruitful day lies ahead. Yet 400 kilometers from Kenya's capital Nairobi, in Lutonyi village, there is a new transformation. Sitati Protas, a village-based advisor, is leading a group of smallholder farmers in the lush foothills of Kimilili town in Kenya's western county of Bungoma to the farm for the day's planting session. We've just arrived at the farm, and Sitati, the village-based advisor, is instructing farmers on what will be planted today and the techniques of planting. So let's join up with him and the farmers and listen to what he's telling them.
Planting seeds from the previous crop do not give higher yields. So that's why I want to show you this hybrid. The hybrid normally yields more.
After listening to the village-based advisor, the farmers get ready for the day's planting, bearing in mind the instructions that have been given.
Today we are going to plant maize and beans. We are going to do intercropping, which is going to take it will be short-seasoned crop. Yeah, it will only take 2 months to get ready.
Caroline Wafula, a small-scale farmer in the heart of Lutonyi village, shared her experience with us, explaining how her farming has improved because of the village-based advisor.
I have learned that if you work as a group, you can learn from others better ways of farming that you can apply to your own farm and raise high profits.
Soon it's time for yet another sit-in session. The farmers gather for their final briefing of the day to share what they have learned.
Today we learned new and better techniques of planting. We use diversification to help us as farmers so that if we get good yields, we sell and get profits. That helps us in various ways. This is the storage. This is what we harvested first. We stored because we had a good harvest. We don't have enough space to dry the maize. That's why we decided to store these bags and left the rest to dry outside.
What do you make of government's initiatives to have village-based advisors like yourself?
Yeah.
And how exactly did this idea come about?
Yeah, this idea came about because of the national undergoing revolution, where we had the counties coming up, and the staff were not enough to cover the farmers with the advice. So for us, we came in as village-based advisors from the ground, so that we help each other with the government or at the county level. Yeah. So that is the very essence of that particular reason.
So how many farmers have you supported, and what kind of support do you offer to the farmers?
Yes, so far I've reached 300 farmers in a group of 10 groups. There's different 10 groups, and the services I offer to them is advice on the current changes, on climate change issues, and how we get these farmers do as to adapt the climate on this issue of planting the various crops that adapt to the climate.
And what has been the impact since you started supporting farmers in this village?
Yeah, it has been good because of the increment in yields. You find that the yields used to be once in a year, but currently they are doing it twice a year. That is long rain season and then short rain season, as we are doing today here.
Sitati's main objective is to continue increasing farmers' access to knowledge on the proper use of agricultural inputs, with the aim of leading a transformation in farm productivity and profits for smallholder farmers. Daniel Arab Moy, CGTN.
A large part of the population in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo has been displaced by conflict over the past 2 decades. The current situation has led to a hunger crisis because many of those who fled their homes also lost their livelihoods. But some farmers are picking up the pieces in the areas where they've sought refuge. CGTN's Chris Ochomoringa tells us more.
The DRC's agriculture potential is huge. The country has 80 million hectares of arable land, but aid agencies say only 10 million hectares is under cultivation due to poor land use and lack of investment. Beni territory in eastern DRC is an area with fertile land and natural resources. Farming and trade are the main economic activities. The vast majority of people are engaged in small-scale agriculture, but the region has been blighted by conflict for decades. Suspected rebels of the Allied Democratic Forces are reported to be behind attacks against civilians. Sylvia Legana is among thousands of farmers who fled their villages to start a new life in other communities.
I taught myself how to grow onions here. I used to grow cocoa, bananas, and cassava back home. We had to learn to grow these vegetables to survive. The land in our village is very fertile compared to this one. My crops grew very well without adding manure to the soil. But over here, I have to collect decomposed waste from the garbage heaps and pour it around my crops. Otherwise, they'll all get spoiled.
Many of the farmers manage to feed themselves back home and sell the surplus to sustain their families. But now, for survival, they're growing crops on land given to them by well-wishers.
We plant vegetables like tomatoes and cabbages because they are crops that grow fast. We look for people with land and ask them to give us 2 parcels so that we can grow beans because they also grow fast.
The conflicts in eastern DRC have not only affected the livelihood of farmers, but also kept away investors from the agriculture sector. The country now relies heavily on imports of food from neighboring countries.
The World Food Programme says the DRC now has the second largest hunger crisis in the world after Yemen.
The majority of the people in the rural area, they eat because they produce. If they don't produce, generally, they don't eat because they don't have capacity, they don't have resources in order to go and buy.
The Congolese government launched a large-scale military operation against armed groups last October. It also announced plans of boosting the agriculture industry. The news has been well received by Sylvia Legana and other farmers displaced by conflict.
The government should change the soldiers who failed to defeat the rebels and bring new ones. We want to return to our farms and fend for ourselves.
Several local and international NGOs are supporting farmers in the east of the country to get back on their feet by providing them with improved seeds. Access to affordable land is a big challenge to many smallholder farmers, especially in western DRC.
Farming has really sustained us because there are no jobs here. We work very hard on other people's land because we can't afford to buy our own. This is our only source of income.
The DRC has the potential to become Africa's breadbasket, given its fertile soils and natural resources. But conflicts, political instability, and epidemics have kept more than 15 million of its citizens hungry. Farmers displaced by conflict like Sivya Legana are longing for the day that peace will be restored for them to return to their own land. Chris Sochamringa, CGTN, Maluku, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Ethiopia's agricultural commodity exchange platform is transforming the sector for farmers, traders, and the entire economy of the country. Known in short as ECX, it's rounded brokers to offer farmers up-to-date market information, thus taming the middleman and increasing trade in the country's agricultural products. But how does this platform work? Well, CGTN's Girum Chala explains.
12 years ago, with the aim of integrating scattered agricultural output marketing platforms into one, the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange was born. It's an end-to-end platform that brought together not only services such as quality certification, but also storage and market information to especially farmers in the agricultural value chain. In the past, before the birth of ECX, farmers as well as aggregators used to bring their produced commodities to the central market in the capital, Addis Ababa. That was the only option of selling their produce at the spot with little or no bargaining power. That is now history.
With the establishment of ECX, we have decentralized and created proximity and access to the farmers and aggregators and cooperative societies. Now they can find ECX warehouses and branches in their own districts. So that has created an accessibility that really has helped the farmers. Besides, like in the past, in the traditional regime, they have to bring to the market. You either have to sell it or take it back to your home. Now you can deposit it at the ECX warehouse. If there are quality issues, you get our feedbacks. You can do on the improvement.
Ethiopia's commodity exchange began the buy and sell process through what is known as an outcry system, where the seller picks the highest bidder from outcry buyers. But it's been now 4 years since ECX moved from that sort of a traditional method to a digital commodity platform.
The very important thing is to digitalize that, it's done by in-house human resource capacity, which really is a breakthrough. That helps us in terms of efficiency, in terms of surveillance and providing assurance on the market integrity.
The new online market created by ECX has made farmers and traders' lives much easier and made them more profitable too. This system allows traders to use computerized system to handle the trading with little or no flaws.
This world is heading to full digital market. Therefore, compared to the previous one, this is much more reliable and modern. But the way it was supposed to be, this computerized system from the beginning was supposed to undertake proposer trading. This digital market is an all-inclusive, fast and an update for us.
The organized and modern trading system sheltered under the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange has been a learning platform for fellow African states. After visiting its headquarters here in Addis Ababa, nations such as Rwanda, Tanzania and Nigeria have opened their respective commodity exchanges. With such initiatives that cushion and support farmers, the continent can thus ensure food security for its expanding population. Group Jala CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
The essence of food production is, of course, feeding people. In our Food Cultures in Africa segment, we sample some of the best staple and traditional delicacies. Today, we highlight Kenya.
Max Miller Wanyonyi got up before dawn to prepare breakfast for her household and plan the day's meal for her visitors. On the menu is a thin porridge made from a combination of millet and cassava flour. This was our morning star. It took approximately 10 minutes to cook, and soon breakfast is served. With our morning getting busy, this millet porridge came in handy as a quick instant breakfast. Soon Wanyonyi and Agnes Wekanya are back in the kitchen, preparing for the day's traditional special meal. On the menu for lunch is smoked beef, traditionally known as enyama esike, a traditional Bukusu meal, whose preparations begin by smoking the meat and then aging the meat over a few days to perfection. But preparing this traditional delicacy requires skill. Wanyonyi learned just that from her grandmother.
This traditional meal, you cut it, place it in a basin or saucepan, boil water and add in it. Wash the meat using the boiled water and make sure it's clean. Then put the meat in a traditional pot and you let it simmer for 40 minutes. Slice onions, tomatoes and add the traditional salt into the pot and wait for it to get ready.
Bukusu's enyama esike has to be accompanied with the traditional menula. It's now approaching lunch hour. Agnes Wekanya heads for the milling machine. We keenly follow her step by step as she dashes through the village looking for the nearest milling machine. She finally locates the nearest plant. Meals of finger millet mixed with cassava and rushes back home to prepare lunch. The milled flour is added into the boiling water as Wanyonyi races against time to mingle the menula for the guests. Their hard work paid off just in time for the visitors to have a lunchtime feast.
Well, it's taken us about 4 hours to prepare this meal, and it's finally on the table. And just like tradition demands, it's the men that sit together and enjoy the meal. So, it's really, really delicious. Yes, I love the salt. Wow.
Without cooking fat, nothing among these ones.
Yeah, let's try the meat. Oh yes. Jeez, this is good. Why is enyama esike so important to the Bukusu culture?
This meal here, it is very healthy, it gives energy, and you stay for long before you feel hungry.
The Bukusu cannot do without their traditional beer, the busa. Busa is a traditional brew prepared using maize flour and sprouted finger millet. It is a popular alcoholic drink of the Bukusu community. On this day, Agnes Wekanya is in charge. She quickly runs us through the process.
So this is the millet fingers that I dried and put in water for approximately 15 minutes, then removed. I put it in a sack, left it for 3 days. The millet grew and it looks like this. I later dried it under the sun for 2 days. I went and milled it, and this is it. And when they drink like this, they get excited, and stories become more interesting when they are drunk. All stories and secrets end under the pot when old men begin drinking. This is the culture of the Bukusu.
Village elders gather around the traditional pot, eagerly waiting for Wekanya to bless them with their favorite drink of the day. She is finally ready to serve the elders, and soon the party begins. The elders surround the pot, each with a luseke, or siphoning tube. After approximately 15 minutes, the elders get excited. They slowly begin shaking their bodies, dancing to the rhythm of their favorite traditional music as they make merry. It's a busy day for Wekanya, who is entrusted with the responsibility of adding hot water into the busa pot to make it easier for the elders who are having a day of their lives. Looking at how the village elders are excited, it was time to dig deep into what the Enyama Esike and Busa have in common from the cultural leader.
When people have eaten enough or good food, they, as social animals, Pukusus had their culture of going to socialize. And there is no way you can talk for 30 minutes and then saliva goes out and then look for water. So this one brings people together.
The merrymaking continues as we bid farewell to the Bukusu elders. Daniel Arab Moy, CGTN.
And with that tantalizing feast, we wrap up day 1 of our special series, Food Production in Africa. Join us tomorrow as we take a look at bulk food production and